Yo, yo, what's up? This is Thought Process. I'm stoked to chop it up here with Poducers. Let's get into it.
Poducer.
I always ask this question on the long form, which is, what was your first concert? Just a fun little icebreaker.
Yeah, actually, so my first concert was probably Kenny Chesney when I was in like fifth grade with my mom. Huge country fan. She's the first person that really got me into like electronic music or like into music in general, not electronic music. But I used to go just like to like Sunday in the country in Maryland where I grew up and like little things like that with her early on before I really discovered this scene. So interesting.
Country to country rhythm. No.
Definitely a different pipeline than most producers. I feel like started with the country live shows, but
Yeah.
I have a lot to thank to my mom for, showing me the way early on with the live music kind of scene.
For sure. I feel like I'll hear a lot of times like, oh, I'm into metal or like hardcore music because it kind of lends itself to some of the bass music genres. But I feel like your music is it's more vibey, you know? It's more like along that Pretty Lights vein. You were saying how he's like a huge inspiration and been instrumental in like your career.
Yeah, absolutely. He was definitely like the first real artist that kind of inspired me pretty heavily. So yeah, like it's been a crazy year getting to work with that team a lot, like playing a lot of the official after parties and being a part of the Caverns weekend that they had. Super, super special because yeah, that is truly like my biggest inspiration and like a lot of the reason why I make music and why I got into it in the first place. So super full circle to have that be what it is. I'm actually heading to NOLA tomorrow to like close the Pretty Light store, like catch the last show, and then we have a Groove Sauce after party that we're playing too. So we're just like stoked to be in that space and just kind of to have that like acknowledgement from some like a music project that means so much. It's just really, really like it's crazy, crazy life stuff. So
And it's like the comeback, you know? Him coming back, he's like doing the whole tour and everything. It's really cool to see.
it's so right. They did it so right. Like I've been really lucky to catch a bunch of the sets, like all the most of the Colorado shows I was at, and like Cascade Festival, the Caverns, the first night, like some of San Fran, and it's just to see them like approach it in such a unique way and bring such a fusion of like experimental, like almost jam focused element, but still be rooted in like hip hop and electronic music, and how every show continues to just like test more and like continue to get better and better. It's like what I kind of try and seek.
And it kind of proves that it can be this like lifelong, you can be doing this for your whole life, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. Which is not. It's a very daunting thing to kind of dedicate your life to a space like this. Like I still wait tables back in Denver when I'm not touring, and it's like there's a very real reality of like this isn't the easiest lifestyle to make happen. But I feel like watching things like that, it really does make it seem like, hey, like this is so possible. There are people out there who want to support and that care so deeply about this art that we're making, and like, like it can be done. You just like, like exactly what you said. It's like proof. The proof is in the pudding. Just put the work in and like show out, and like you can kind of get what you want out of this space.
For sure, dude. And like, dude, you have been grinding from what I've seen on your social media. It's just like, yo, I'm here, yo, I'm here, yo, I'm here, and it's like it's pretty incredible, and you've played some amazing venues. I didn't even see that you played the Caverns, but like that's such a cool venue. And Red Rocks, like that's always a huge goal for so many people. It's like the not the mecca, but it like really is. Every time I see a Red Rocks post, everyone's like, dude, this is surreal, you know?
Yeah, I mean that one in particular too, like it being like a Groove Sauce like trio thing. So it's like my two best friends and I, the OPO Orchestra, like such a pinnacle musical experience. And yeah, like I first visited Colorado on like a road trip with a friend of mine once I graduated high school, and we happened to be there on the same weekend as like one of the global dub events, and it was like Grizz and Grammatic and Mimosa and a bunch of really cool artists. And that was the first time I ever got to go to Red Rocks. I was like 17 years old, and it was just like it's like that exact thing. Like you show up and this place is just magic, So it's like me being who I was then, kind of looking at this and being like, oh my God, like I want to do this thing, and to like. Yeah, it's just such a full circle thing. Like same kind of experience. This year has been absolutely phenomenal. Like I can't believe where we're at.
That's awesome, and I'm so glad. I don't even know you really, but that just it warms my heart to like
Thanks, man.
see people kill it, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's a community effort. A big thing I try and kind of like focus on with the project is like the community. Like that's the reason I got into art. That's the reason I do what I do. And like a metaphor that I use often is like an ecosystem, right? So the scene that we're all kind of involved in, it's it's everything is equally as important as the next thing, and if you take one element out, the whole thing will crumble, like the same as a real life ecosystem. You know, like you need your plants, you need your animals, like you need all aspects of life working in harmony. That's the same with the space. Like you need your fans, you need your artists, you need your promoters, you need like everyone involved, and like there's nothing more or less important or significant than the other thing. Like everything's an even playing field, and without one aspect of it, none of it works, right? So that's just kind of like the energy that I try and bring in the space as well, or like I hope to captivate and promote and kind of make that a conversation, because like I feel like people need to take a step back and like look at that a little more and just understand like we're all out here trying to push this culture that we love. So like show love to everyone as much as you can, and like be as like supportive of every single individual in this space, because the whole like all ships will rise with that tide, you know.
I feel that. Yeah, I feel like it really does work too with the electronic scene. Like maybe in the commercial or like the pop realm, it's like a little bit more cutthroat. There can only be so many pop stars. But yeah, I like that. You know, speaking of nature, something I wanted to ask you about was the sprouts.
Yeah.
What is the deal with the sprout? It's on every post. Also, I'm not even privy to the sprout that they put on like people's hats and stuff. I just see it. I'm like, what is that? I never asked anyone. So maybe you can give me a proper education.
The actual
Is that this? Yeah, are those
That was
related?
just like very, very coincidental, to be honest. So I've used like this ecosystem. That's a amazing bridge, because like the ecosystem kind of way I think about the scene has been from the start. And so like I'm really big on growth. Like I come from a pretty like it was like tough growing up, so it's always been like growth oriented like mindset. So like I always have like kind of aligned with the sprout emoji and like communication, because I think like it's a really good way to represent just always trying to grow, you know. And so like it just started with me just simply using it because I like connected with it as a symbol. And then yeah, it's just like it relates to like the whole ecosystem kind of mentality. It's like a part of the brand I want to kind of push, where it's like, you know, we're gonna move through phases of it. I think like we're in a sprouting phase right now. Soon there'll be like a blooming era of the project, where it's like, you know, when things really start to like, if we keep on working and things really start to grow and align, and it's like every step of the way until we get to that ecosystem where, you know, we're throwing major events that we're curating and like everyone's involved. So it's just like this kind of thing I attach to the little sprout clips. Like I don't know where those came from, but it just was like,
I don't know what that is.
it was just like a crazy coincidental like thing. It's just, I don't know, it's just like happened to also, I think a lot of people maybe subconsciously kind of get down with the same vision, you know. Like it's a cute little symbol. It represents a lot though if you actually think about it, but you don't have to look that deeply into it if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, like yeah, there's a lot of symbolism there, and about what it means and stuff. That's what it is to me, at least. And you know, that's why I rep it so hard, and that's why like where it comes to with us. But yeah, and it just also happens to be like a cute, cool little festival thing that like
Someone
you sprout them, you connect and whatever, and then it passes. You know.
I've never been sprouted. If someone wants to sprout me, also,
Let's get it going.
if someone knows like the origin or whatever, like comment, let me know, because I'm always eager to figure it out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. Well, so there's a couple of things that you also wanted to talk about. One thing being an EP that you'll be releasing. What is the timeline on that? What have your thoughts been about this project?
I'm stoked. It's definitely a big undertaking deciding to put music out. I'm not the best at it. I had one EP come out this year, and it's just always about trying to make sure that the art is like leveling up and telling more of the story every time. So I try and take my time with it. I'm pretty good with mixes, like kind of debuting like new ideas and tips and stuff. But like the last EP I put out, Always in Changing Form, was in February this year, and that I tried to take more of a relaxed approach to the music I released. It wasn't as like hyphy banger forward kind of like dancey. It was a lot more of my like more emotional, I think, a little like dialed back like storytelling tunes. This one I'm trying to kind of flip the script a little bit. I am going to try and focus more on like the dance aspect of things, a little bit more on like the high energy side. I have some collabs on there that I'm really excited about. A single coming out in January that with a really dope vocalist, actually based out of Chicago, which you'll see more information on that really soon. That's just a separate thing, but the EP itself will be a lot more dance stuff, a lot more like soulful sample based kind of hype stuff. I got a collab with Aleo on there that I'm really stoked about. My buddy Osis, who's actually from here as well, plays really good guitar and makes insane beats. And a few other kind of tracks that I've been kind of dialing in. I'm looking at early 2024 for that, probably maybe February again. The goal is, so we just announced my biggest headline to date in Denver at Cervantes. The goal is to get it out before then, and then just like, so have some stuff for people to get familiar with and get stoked about on the show, and then also just have some B-sides and flips and stuff to play there as well. But that was like an event I put a lot of work into, and I got Osis on that one as well, and Freak, Alejo, Feel, and myself. Really dope visual lineup with Oswald, Spectrum One, and Laia out of Florida. It's going to be like a super good time.
That's awesome. There's a lot in the works. This is going to be a real basic ass question, but I didn't see anything about it, so I was just curious. Thought process. What's going on with the name? What is the thought process that you want to have, or like, does it change? And
Absolutely. I mean, I think thought process as a concept changes day by day. You know, I think it's just like a little bit of a nod to like subconscious approach to music, you know, and art. The name itself, I got really lucky. So when I graduated high school, before I even started making music, I lived up at Penn State with one of my best friends from high school. His name's Will Hussein. He makes music as a Kimbo, lives out of Indianapolis. Amazing human. He's done so much for me. He like kind of started teaching me a lot of that back in the day. We just did like a DJ duo group where we played kind of funky hip hop stuff in dive bars in Penn State. He played live guitar over it. One of the early shows we did there up at State College, there was just like a dive bar. No one was in the crowd. It was just us playing our music to ourselves basically. And we get off stage and the owner of the bar comes up and he was pretty stoked on it. There wasn't really a lot of people doing that kind of sound, you know, at the time or whatever. Just a lot of like hyphy college music and stuff like that. So we were definitely like a different, doing a different approach stylistically. But he comes up and he's like, it was just us going by our names basically at the time. And he was like, what is this project? Like, you guys are really fun and funky. You look so involved when you're on stage, like performing, like the thought process behind like what y'all are doing. You look so in tune with it up there. Like, what's going on? And so that kind of just stuck with us. Like, it stuck with us. And we kind of went our separate ways. I moved to Colorado and he moved to Atlanta, and you know, like he's still one of my best friends to this day. But when I moved to Colorado is when I really started getting into it, and like I took a couple years to like learn Ableton on my own before I put out my first EP or like created the project. And I just called him up and I was like, hey, I'm trying to like keep this thing going. Do you mind if I like run with this? And he was like, dude, absolutely, full support. Like, you know, yeah. So that's where the name comes from. Really.
Cool. Thank you for breaking it down. This has been great.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks for coming by. Where can people find you? Like social media wise, we talked about the tour and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super prevalent all across. I try and be pretty active on most socials and stay connected with people. Instagram is probably what I frequent the most. We have a Facebook group, Think Tank. My partner in TM and like pretty much just the powerhouse of the project, Catherine, helps
the mitochondria.
Yeah, she has done so much for me. So like super shout out for her just as being a person in my life and someone who supports me, and then also just the back end, like creating all the merch. Like I have these ideas that she just is able to make come to life, but a lot of this activity goes down in the Facebook group Think Tank. That's definitely where you'll find her and I communicating the most, and like the easiest and best way to like connect with us and get ideas across or just see what we're up to. Like you get peaks of all the new music first. Like I share in there pretty often, like all the merch gets dropped to those people first. Like that's the crew who's been really like helping this thing, like really, they're just like a community of heads who are just so stoked on the art and help me just naturally like push this forward. So I try and show a lot of love and like, you know, kind of like I'm very active in that space. So
thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.